our conversation will really flow nicely into today's episode. So thanks so much for joining us today. Feeling very nostalgic as this is our final episode of the year. We will be back in January 2021. We, of course, want to spend some time and thank our presenting sponsors. You can see all of their logos on the screen. Many of these are staying with us throughout the next calendar year, but please do go find them online, give them some love, like them, follow them, just comment, let them know that you saw them on the Nonprofit Show. We are so appreciative to have their partnership in this conversation as we continue to evolve and navigate what's next.
It's so dang true.
So dang true. Couldn't you said it better, Julia Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. Absolutely. This is Julia's direct personal email. So please do reach out to Julia. We are shifting and shaping the 2021 to meet your needs. So reach out to Julia, as well as myself, co-host Jarrett Ransom, the Nonprofit Nerd, CEO of the Raven Group, also my personal direct inbox email. So shoot us a line, let us know what you like, what you would like more of, and how we can best support you, again, as we move forward into 2021. So today's show is lessons. Julia, I am so thrilled.
It's crazy because I'm a big believer in what's the lesson? And one of my big mantras is you've never failed unless you fail to learn, right? So, and I tell myself that, when I'm like, oh man, I screwed up, blah, blah, blah. Right. Which I'm very hard on myself. And I'm always go to bed every day, what I didn't do, which I work on. I struggle with that. But one of the big things is that I always try and remind myself, if I didn't learn, then that's the failure, right?
Absolutely.
That's kind of one of my things. And I thought that one of my big lessons, and I think this came from you, was working with and extending grace.
Yes, including to yourself.
Right. Oh yeah, I know. See, you can tell. I forgot about that part.
I know. Well, and I do think that so many of us in our community at large has really extended grace during this year. And that's a good thing. We all need it, right? And so, just to recognize that we're all humans, and to err is human. We all make mistakes. And just as you said, Julia, about, failing to learn, I do my absolute best to stay in a survivor thriver mentality. Yes, there are times that I fall into the victim mentality, but I do my best to not stay there long. And the reason I'm sharing all of this, honestly, is just to say that it has been a hell of a ride, right? And we've all been bumped, we've all been bruised, we've all been shaken, not stirred this year. Although we've been stirred too, right? Stir crazy, stirred in ways that we had no idea was coming. And what I have noticed, though, is so much compassion for others. Compassion is being extended, in ways that I don't think that I've ever really witnessed at this grandiose scale before. And I think it's really important. And I'm so glad that this is one of your big lessons of the year, Julia, because you deserve grace. We all deserve grace. And for us to give it to other people, we also have to be willing to give it and receive it for ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And my sense of it, Jarrett, is that, I think it's human nature. We look at the year of the end of the year, and we're like, the new year, it's all going to be fresh, new, good to go. And I think that in the nonprofit sector, my biggest concern is that we're going to get fatigued. I mean, we are already seeing this, but our donors and our clients and our teams are going to become fatigued and then disappointed when it's wait a minute, we're still in the same slog. And so how do we prepare for that? In that sense, we prepare, we look at this and we're like, okay, what is it we're going to do when our team is just exhausted and they can't move forward? or we can't sell our story anymore. We can't navigate, more compassion. And that, I think, is going to be the big challenge for the first 6 months of 2021.
I agree. It's going to be, a time to continue to recreate, continue to re-engineer, continue to restructure what we've done. And even though what we've done in 2020 has by far been probably some of the most creative, innovative, ingenious concepts that you've ever designed, implemented, and executed. Wow, we're going to have to like X plus Y that algorithm for 2021, because 2021 is not looking very different right now than what we're sitting in currently in this, final quarter of 2020. But our missions still need the support. Our employees, our workforce still needs the support, right? And so our workforce capital, our human capital, relationships, self-care, we're going to talk about all that. So I'm really excited.
I think one of the things that you also really, you brought up to many, to me, with so many of our guests, and then we heard this from our guests. Yes. And that was focus on the partnerships that fit together. Because, we can be competitive. Well, we're competing for money. We're competing for, attention.
Right. And many of us are natural, competitors. I myself, huge competitive spirit, very competitive spirit. And I believe in abundance. I believe in collaboration. I believe in cohesion. I believe that we can all win, right? Like, I want to see everyone succeed. So in my competitive spirit, I do what I can to focus on those partnerships. So the puzzle piece, I love that you've connected this, Julia, literally connected it. And I mentioned it yesterday in the show with Adrienne Jameson with YNPN Phoenix chapter, but I talk about how our community at large, not only nationally, but your very focused, laser focused community in which you serve, we are all one big puzzle piece. We are all one big puzzle, and we each have a piece to the puzzle. And so when you picture the community in this puzzle, you can see what are our needs, what are our solutions, what do these people look like, what are the outcomes? Like, just literally close your eyes right now and think about what your community looks like and what it needs, and what might your vision of that puzzle, once it's together, looks like. So I believe that each of us, every single one of us, has a puzzle piece in our hands. We might have multiple. And when we put our puzzle piece in the position at the right place, at the right time, with the right partners, right? That is when we are truly able to see how we all fit together.
Right. So, and what I think is very interesting about when you first brought this up, what I think is interesting is I don't think enough nonprofits actually look at this. I think they look at there's so many children that need art education. There's so many people that need food or whatever it is from all these scales. But I thought this was an interesting approach, because I think if you can determine where you fit in the community, I think you can be a lot more strategic on a lot of levels. And I think that's something that would really appeal to major funders.
Oh, absolutely. And again, our guest yesterday, she said, you cannot talk about education without talking about healthcare, without talking about social reform, without all of our pieces. There's 9 main nonprofit sector focuses, I should say, and they are all intertwined, which means we all need to find our place in the puzzle.
Yeah, I think that for me, that was one of the big light bulb moments, was that you need to really, and especially I maybe was coming at this as a board member, been so focused in on the organization and then the sector and learning about the sector and what that means, and somewhat closing our eyes and our hearts to all the other inputs. And that is such a bad way to lead. I mean, because nobody works in a silo like that
Right.
effectively and efficiently. So
Right.
this was a big, for me, this was a huge lesson. I mean, yeah, we've always talked about partnerships, but the reason. Okay,
Right.
now the ROR.
Oh yeah, this was a big one, like huge
Yeah.
buzzword, I want to say, throughout our show. It definitely showed up
Yeah.
every week, if not
Oh,
almost
yeah.
every episode.
Oh, yeah.
But so often we talk about ROI, ROI, return on investment, right? And I don't think that we really started to calculate the ROR, return on relationship, until this year, Julia.
Yeah.
And I remember Sherry Quam Taylor also mentioned return on relationship, huge fundraiser, lives outside of Chicago. And, really, she was a phenomenal guest on. She was even on our birthday show, the 200 episodes. So thank you so much, Sherry. And really talking about, investing again in that human capital so that we can see our return on relationship. And I have seen my clients and heard so many amazing success stories. I know you have too, Julia, of just calling your supporters to say, how are you? We are checking in to see how you are. Like, this is a human voice, a heart to heart, a connection, just to see how you are. We have no updates. Sometimes we had no updates to give. We had nothing to ask for at times, but it was just, how are you? And to really connect at that human level.
I think that's true. And I think the return on relationship for me, another big piece of this, and I don't want to call out some of the viewers we have on today, but one of them I'm thinking of that starts with the letter A. I remember talking to her, and she was amazed at the number of their big donors that stepped up early and quickly in the pandemic, um, not going to delay funding in other areas, but are like pumping additional money in. And
Great.
I remember thinking and talking to her about this was that, because they had developed a relationship and they had a sense of stewardship, it was a no-brainer for these folks. They had the money, they knew the need, they knew it was going to get worse, and they could make a phone call and they could go, right? And that takes, it's a win at that moment and that time, and you're the hero and your team is carrying you in on their shoulders. But the reality is that happened so long ago, so long
So
ago.
long ago. That is the fruits of your labor of those return on relationships. Absolutely. I call those angel donors or
Yes,
blank
I couldn't
check
think of
donors.
the word. I could,
Yes.
yes,
Angel donors or
yes,
blank check donors. And so these
yes.
are those loyal, committed
Committed.
supporters that every organization has, right? And everyone has a different capacity to give, but they are so loyal to you and your cause and what you provide your community that you literally can call them to say, we need help. And they say, again, roll up their sleeves. We're all in. What do you need? And let's get our other friends, connections, influencers involved to say, yes, we will help. My gosh, we have seen this by and large during this holiday season, right? Across the nation, holiday season, so many homes in need, so many individuals struggling paycheck to paycheck or unemployment benefit to unemployment benefit, not having, the luxuries they're used to having, not having the access to the very festive, Thanksgiving dinner or holiday dinner. And so really looking at what do we need, right? And so the communities have come through continuously over and over this year. Julia, our statistics, and I know I shared this previously, in the nation, so throughout the US, our philanthropy has increased this year over every quarter of last year. So even in tumultuous times, trying times, this shows the value on that return on relationship.
Right. And I think it's going to be super interesting to see how that moves forward. I think there's been a lot of discussion about, well, is it just going to like hit the wall? in 2021. And I think we will know very quickly in the next 60 days what that looks like. And I think it's going to be with that super 1%. I mean, there's been a lot of money made during this pandemic.
Yes.
And I think we'll start to see that, move forward. Hey, I want to move on to something that I learned that was really impactful. And it came to us from the CEO of Mission Met, Eric Ryan. And I kind of know this, or I should say I knew this, but maybe it was like my ears were open and my heart was open, or he just framed it differently. But he was like, don't just look at the goal, but look at the journey towards the goal. Now, this means, like, if you're doing strategic planning, what are your objectives and what's the flow and how you get there. But his whole thing was really back it up, and really start to look at all the pieces of your jigsaw puzzle and how those things flow into the ultimate goal and the achievement of the goal. Because all of those actions that you take are going to have implications probably in other areas across your organization. And I don't know about you. I mean, Jarrett, you do a lot of strategic planning seminars and work with individuals. And I do to an extent as well, but not like you do. I thought it was just kind of like one of those things that transformed the way I thought about goals.
Same. This by and far, thank you so much, Eric, with Mission Met. We need to have your logo up here, in fact, for the next year. But yes, we were talking about how, really focusing on the process and those procedural goals, those measurements of success, that has changed my paradigm on how I provide executive coaching, Julia. It totally has. It was a huge eye opener for me. It's something that I do with my clients, whether it is that strategic planning in the board retreat or those individual departmental goals for executive coaching. And, in the fourth quarter, I noticed with all of my clients that they were feeling really down. They were feeling defeated. They were feeling deflated. They were feeling like the exhaustion had definitely set in and it had been there a while. And I said, that's okay. First of all, take care of yourself, right? I want you to make sure that you can continue to serve. However, focus on the process, right? So keep doing what you're doing. You have a plan. We created this together to be proactive. Of course, we can re-engineer as we see fit, but stick to the plan and the success, those results will come. And they definitely did. And so it's really just when you're feeling defeated, when you're feeling overwhelmed, go back to the tactical plan. And for those, shameless plug, that are joining me for my workshop, January 9th or 22nd. So I have 2 workshops. This is the plan that I'm talking about. So we will create this chaos to calm, and it takes you back to, okay, I don't know what to do. So you look at your plan and you do the process. You take those steps, and those steps, when you continue to take action, you will see the fruits of your labor.
And, I was talking to somebody, and again, I don't want to call them out, but it's the same, I'm going to say human being.
Same rock star that starts with an A.
That starts with an A. And you know who you are, AR. AR came to me and said in a text, I just feel like I haven't done anything and I'm really disappointed with the year. And it was like kind of one of those, frustration moments. And I was just like, holy cow, are you kidding me? You've done amazing things that were completely out of the box. You moved quickly. You came up with all these ideas. And I think that is for a lot of us. We might not have gotten the goal that we thought we were, that we were marching towards, but look at that journey and look how quickly we morphed. And I think that, to your point, Jarrett, in some ways, 2020 is going to be one of those pivotal years that allowed the nonprofit sector to create new approaches and take risks that were far more successful than they could have ever been imagined.
I agree. And in fact, I'm thinking back to the return on relation, including, this conversation as well. It all adds to one another. So next year,
Yes.
2021, you might see the return on relationship from someone that you stewarded, you were just having a human connection with in 2020. They could come through the end of the year, move into a place of gratitude and abundance for their own selves in 21, could begin to be a donor if they're not a current donor. Maybe they're a recipient, right? We've seen the demographics of so many people in need change over this year that they could potentially be a pay it forward client, consumer, what have you. And so we could see that trend in 2021. I think that would be amazing. I've already started to see it. One of my organizations, I serve as their interim executive director, and we provide scholarships to high school students. We provided a scholarship in 2006 to a gentleman that is doing quite well in his career now. And he is a young gentleman in his 20s and has given us a planned gift commitment. Wow. Yeah. So again, he got scholarship money when he could, and he's able to make a commitment. He put this organization in his will, in his living trust, made that commitment, informed us to let us know. And he is by far an unconventional type of donor for a planned gift. But that just goes to show his level of gratitude and abundance that he wants to give back and pay it forward to another student. And I think we'll start to see more of that.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with the change, this demographic shift of this enormous wealth transference.
Absolutely.
We've talked about. And I think that that's another thing that we need to spend more time on in 2021, because that's just money that's going to fall from the sky. And I don't think enough nonprofits are ready for it. I want to touch, as our time comes to a draw, one of the things that I would say I learned, and I really started to witness this from the people that I work with, myself, but across the country, our guests, is using that off switch, where before you would never say, I'm taking the day off.
I know.
I mean, you would never admit to that, even like on a Saturday or Sunday, And I mean, at least I'm speaking for myself, that would just be like, I'm always, working.
Go.
This is like a really big thing, using the word self-care, leadership, understanding you need to provide these opportunities with your staff because they're getting burned out. And so I think that was a huge thing for me.
Huge lesson of 2020. Absolutely. We heard from so many leaders and HR representatives about really connecting with your team, even in this virtual reality, to ask them, how are you? Right? And this is a genuine, how are you? Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and to really, again, grant them grace and the permission, if you will, to take some time off. It could be, the weekend, it could be an evening, it could be a Friday, any day. I mean, honestly, this is really hard for a lot of people, is to take the day off. Something else we talked about in our shows, Julia, is how for those of us in the social sector, there is no off switch. There is often not an off switch. And you've heard me say it, I don't believe in the work-life balance. And some of you are like, what? You have to have a balance. Hear me out. I agree. We need to, moderate everything that we're doing. I believe in a blend. So someone said that who we are is our identity, right? Who we are, how we serve, our mission in which we're connected with, that is often our identity. So when you have a work-life balance, I feel that it's often that switch on, switch off. So I live in this place of a blend, right? I'm constantly working. I'm constantly thinking about the community and what solutions there are. But it doesn't mean that I don't take, self-care. I don't turn my phone off. I'm going to witness to all of you publicly. I even came down with COVID positive. So I know, I didn't know if I was going to share it, but I too was COVID positive. And so there was some times during the show where it was like, okay, here we go. I hope I make it. And Julia, you of all people would message me religiously every morning, every evening,
every
to
night.
check in. Yeah, to check in and to say, turn your phone off. do not respond, right? And I'm so fortunate because all of my symptoms remained mild, but that wasn't the case for everyone. And I also witnessed so much grace from others when I said, hey, I just got my result. I'm COVID positive. You literally had to say nothing else. And everybody was just, take your time. Don't worry about the deadline. Take care of yourself. I hope that continues, right? Not COVID. I hope that the whole just embracing the self-care. As you know, Julia, my package to all of my close relationships and clients this year was a self-care package.
Yeah.
So it was focused on take care of yourself, right? And it's exactly what we talk about. We cannot continue to serve our community if we don't serve ourselves first, right? Meaning to take care of yourself, take that rest time. And I'm going to witness to all of you again, there's still many days now that I catch myself exhausted and needing a nap. So if you catch yourself and you are just sheer exhausted, right? We call it here in my house with my 10-year-old son, I'm so tired I could cry.
I say the same thing.
You
No,
do?
I
Oh,
do.
so emotional.
I say that a lot. I'll be like, I am so tired, I could cry. And
Yes.
it's a really bad place. And I think that one of the things we need to, as a sector to really be aware of is that this burnout factor. And it's just going to get to the point where people are so overwhelmed that it begins to take a toll on the other parts of their lives. And they will have family members that'll be like, it's not worth it. Please quit. Please don't keep doing this.
Right.
And that is just going to disintegrate our structures even more. That's a big concern I have and have had for years over our sector. You know, the bleed off, especially you see it in development, you see it in management. Yeah. Now we have this age demographic shift where we're having people age out and we're not bringing enough people in. And so it is, this exhaustion piece is a huge, huge thing.
Well, huge thing. And exhaustion, you're right, the burnout. And if you think about it, what we do in our life and our work, again, that blend, that identity of who we are is taxing. We are constantly caring for others, right? It is a very natural, nurturing profession. And it takes a lot of energy, a lot of heart, a lot of spiritual conscious, like it takes a lot out of us. It's a drain. It's a very privileged drain. I feel very honored to be able to serve. My license plate reads be of service. I mean, that's, like I'm so committed to this. So, and I believe we all are, right? Because we have a choice and this is the profession that we choose. And Julia, we have got to take care of ourselves so we can continue to serve.
Right. And that I think I think that's a great way for us to end because it truly is how we protect ourselves going into this new year. I mean, it's a pretty awesome thing. And it's maybe an unexpected way to end with the lessons learned. Certainly there have been so many, Jarrett, and there will continue to be so many more. Again, I'm Julia Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. I've been joined by the nonprofit nerd herself, Jarrett
Put the glasses on one more final time this year.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I need to put tape on all my glasses here in the studio.
Well, and let's say also that Julia and I have committed. So this is our last episode of the year. We will be back next year. Don't worry. We will be back. But we are taking some downtime, we want to go dark. We want to replenish ourselves, our soul. 2 days. That's right. 2 days plus the weekend.
Yeah.
So yes, this is our final show of the year. And we too are taking our own dose of medicine of self-care.
Self-care. We want to be really mindful of your time and get off, but I would be remiss if we didn't thank Kevin Pace, our executive director. Kevin gets us through this. I mean, Jarrett and I have the fun part. We get to be on and chit chat and do all the stuff.
Yeah, Kevin gets a gold star.
Kevin Pace is the man behind the scenes. He takes care of us. He's critical and he's hard on us, but he gets things done. He gets things done efficiently. And he's really allowed us to grow this process beyond my wildest dreams. So we are extremely full of gratitude for Kevin Pace. Amazing. Hey, again, we want to thank our presenting sponsors. Without you, we would not be here. We would not be celebrating 200 plus episodes. And as we go into the new year, we have a lot of really exciting guests booked up, and we will continue to grow our sponsorship base. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It has been such an awesome thing. We've had several questions. It says we've had a lot of people say thank you. We've had a lot of people say Happy New Year. We've had several people say, Jarrett, oh my goodness, please take care of yourself and allow yourself to heal. So every day, you know, I don't always get to read these alive and witness to everybody, but we always get just amazing feedback from people from all over the world. So we are full of gratitude.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. So Jarrett, do you want to sign us off with our mantra?
I would love to. Thanks for joining us for another amazing episode of the Nonprofit Show. Please take time to take care of yourself. Join us again in January. And until then, stay well so you can do well. Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you.